We are now joined by a very special guest, Mr. Akash Goenka of the Goldie Group. He's the director of the group and he has given us his time. So, sir, welcome to ET Now. Thank you so much for speaking to us. So, the first question that I want to ask you, we are currently living in the times where the cost of raw materials when it comes to production of, food products or food industry is high. Apart from that, there is the added cost of logistics, transportation, imports, even if you are producing something that is not, easily available in the country. So, in these times, how do you feel that you are able to, juggle with the cost of the products that you are making, and what kind of impacts are you seeing?
First of all, I would like to thank you for having me here. And as you said, right now, currently, I agree with the notion that there is an incremental cost in the raw material, in logistics, transportation, and definitely we try to struggle with it because if we see about the primary product of ours, that is spices. So spices constitutes to a very minimal total spending in a household, Indian household or any household, because the quantity of spices is very limited, very less in the entire dish if we see. So for the consumer, of course, it doesn't matter at that immediate time, but in the long run, yes, if we talk about the product specifically, so the rising raw material costs, first of all, lead to a lot of uncertainty about the MRPs, about the prices that we offer to the consumers. And with seeing the geopolitical scenario around the world, so yes, there is a huge incremental cost in terms of freight, especially when it comes to the raw material which we import. So almost the cost that overseas freight that we give to the containers has almost tripled in the past 3 years. So that definitely adds to the cost. But with the changing reforms in the country, like from the journey from sales tax to VAT and GST, so I would definitely like to thank the government that these reforms has definitely helped the indigenous manufacturers at least to compete in our own nation, as in producing in one state and sending to another state with different taxation. So there was a lot of difference in taxation. So we used to struggle with the different MRPs in different states, a brand having 5 MRPs or 6 MRPs in the same country. So that also used to add to the cost of inventory, cost of printing material, cost of the different MRPs stocks to be stored at different places. So that has been actually done away with. And with the new GST reforms, it has further, I would say, eased the process of differential MRPs with the different tax structures.
So moving ahead, talking about raw materials and the import related issues itself, I wanted to ask you what kind of issues particularly you are facing, and if you were given a chance to send your representation to the government, what would you ask for to ease that pressure?
So I would say that there are some. India, of course, is a very large, I would say, the largest spices eating nation. We are all foodies and we have different types of cuisines. Every 100 kilometers, we have a different cuisine and we are fond of the spicy food. But if we see, there are some spices which in our country, due to climatic, geographical conditions, the soil conditions, we produce very less of them. Like whatever the demand is, we produce a very singular percentage of those spices. So then we are left with no option but to import those spices. So since many decades, these spices always have been having an average of 30% import duty. And normally the import duty is if we are growing to support the indigenous growers or manufacturers. So I would definitely say that to compete with the other nations, in which also there are now spices manufacturing companies, food product manufacturing companies which are becoming global players. So we find it kind of difficult in terms of competing with them because there are around 30% average cost of the import duties on the spices. So I would definitely, from the industry perspective, would like to request the government if they can have a look into it, and if those specific spices, which of course are not grown in the country or grown in a very, I would say, notional manner, very negligible production. So if that could be eased out, I'm sure that would lead us to compete better, not only in the global world, in the global village, but also it would lead to the less cost to the final consumer, as in the mix of spices, if we say a mixed spices. So there are a lot of spices which attract that kind of huge duty. So it would lead to the consumer having to pay less in terms of what they are paying today.
Sir, अगर आखिरी सवाल मेरा, I wanted to ask you, if you could just sum up in three bullet points, that these are the three things I want from the government, if at all possible. What would those three things be in terms of enhancing your business?
I would say the three bullet points I would like to urge the government is, of course, to look into the import duty of spices, A. B, to have a check on the unbranded sector of food manufacturing. And C, also to give us some weapon in order to having us import some of the finest machineries in terms of the import duties on the capital goods as well. That would definitely give a huge boost to all these indigenous manufacturers like us.
Thank you so much for speaking to us, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.